5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Coach World TV. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Lynn Berger. Hey, Lynn Berger, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Lynn is, and I'm going to tell you, she has so many titles that I'm not going to tell you them all. She can tell us during the course of this show. But Lynn is a career coach and counselor, and we're going to talk to her about. She's got a book. She's been on several television shows, and she has lots of tips and ideas about the employment arena. So, Lynn, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you again.
Tell us, I find that our guests like to know, okay, what actually made you get into the coaching world? How did that all happen?
Well, actually, I started out as a career counselor 20 plus years ago, really helping people figure out what is the best career for them based upon their interests, not only the skills they have, but the skills they have and they like to use, their values, what's important to them, and their personality, style, and temperament. And I did that through, and I continue to do that through testing and discussion to help people really dig deep.
Now, were you working were you independent?
For myself,
oh,
yes.
Okay.
And then
wow.
in the late 90s, early 2000s, the coaching movement really took on.
You know, I always thought I was the very first person who was ever a coach, and that was 2004. All right.
Okay.
I guess I'm being proven wrong.
Not
yes.
too much earlier. And I really found myself working with people after they discovered and found the situation for themselves to help them really get to the next level. And that describes coaching very well. And I went for some coach training. Some clients even said, you know, you probably want to think about doing some coaching as well. And I developed my practice as a career counselor and coach.
Okay, now if I asked you to distinguish between counseling and coaching, what would you, how do you distinguish, or do you distinguish it, I guess is a better question.
Well, let's say there's a very fine line. However, when I explain it to a potential client, and we'll explain it to you, the counselor part is digging to really help the individual find what's a good fit for them through, in-depth discussion, some testing, to really help them get at who they are. And then the coaching is to help them get there. So have them model, do some mock discussions, help them practice to get where they need to go.
So to make it simple, because I like simple, to make it simple, then it would be, okay, the counseling part would probably be that you would dig around and find out where are your skills, what do you like to do, and there used to be a terminology for that, but
assessment?
Okay, assessment's good. I like that term. And so that would be where what your, I don't want to say proclivity, what your passion is and what you're leaning toward and what you're going to be good at. That would be what you're doing with the counseling, and then the coaching would be getting the person to that place.
I think you said it very nicely. Perhaps we can look at it, the what are you going to do, and the how and where are you going to do it with the coaching, and how are you going to get there.
Yeah. Now that we figured out what you want to do.
How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
Because, it's easier to get somewhere when you know where you're going.
It's called asking for direction, or just at least mapping it out. Yes,
right.
yes.
So that's
absolute. So that. Oh, I see. So okay. So and were you doing that? Did you throw in coaching before you knew that you were coaching?
Probably.
Like most
of
us.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you were originally doing was just sort of helping people assess where they were,
right.
And then coaching just enhanced the skills, and you can help them get where they're going. Yeah.
And then grow where they are.
Right. That's important too.
Yeah.
I find that since 2008, and I know it's getting a little. Do you think it's getting better out there, employment-wise?
It's not fair to say because there's a lot of people that are still struggling.
Right.
So it's depends upon the areas you're in and where you're living, and there's a lot of circumstances to consider.
I see signs that it's a little better, but I know since 2008 it has been the rules have changed, I guess is a good way to say it, and not only are people worried about what's their perfect career and how to get there, they're also worried about how do I stay edgy in the field and how do I keep my job, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people's expectations have changed in a good way, because one of the things that leads to major disappointment is when your expectations are here and reality is here. So perhaps our expectations have
lower
gotten
them
a
a
little.
little. Yeah. It's called reality. Sorry. Sad but true. Yeah. Oh my. But no, we're going to tell you good things too. So that's interesting because, yeah, I find, and I think we were talking about this earlier, I find that it's, a lot of people just said, well, you know what, since I'm out here now, and I didn't want to be out here, but my boss had different plans for me, I may as well go for something that I really want to do, because I hated my job anyway, or it certainly didn't pay off. So what, did you find that your coaching and counseling changed after that? Were there different demands, or, because I got a lot of desperate people in the beginning. It was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, and it was, first you have to calm them down and rebuild self-esteem, because people were just devastated.
It's so damaging and hurtful and disappointing. And I think your point is very well taken. When things aren't going so great, and you know you were forced to leave or you're going to be leaving shortly, you might as well go for what you want.
Right.
So for some, it freed them up to allow themselves to do it, because the shoulds weren't there anymore. I should stay in the job. I should continue to do this.
And the payoffs weren't there. I mean, you stay in the job and you do a good job and you get to retire and get a gold watch. But it doesn't happen anymore. You know, the things are just
very
mergers
different.
and buyouts and bankruptcies, and it was kind of crazy out there. And I think it's, you know, that's an interesting point. It may not be that it's getting better, but it's that we've gotten used to the chaos, and it's like, okay, so now we have to figure out how do we survive in the chaotic world, not the 65 plus where we retire and go on a cruise.
Yeah, that's a bit unusual today.
It is. First of all, nobody wants to retire, but and then if they do, it's like when they usually end up doing something else. So what do you tell, or how do you, what tools do you use to help people assess their skills and their passions and what they're good at? And if they're good at something, does that mean they should do it?
No, absolutely.
Isn't that a surprise question? That's a surprise answer. No.
One of the things that kind of tricks people up is that solely because you're good at something doesn't mean you really like to do it. So that combination of being good at something and really liking it is where you get the motivation and the reason to want to get up in the morning. So it's that combination of something you're doing well and you like. And the simplest way to figure that out is to keep a diary and write down during the day what it is that you're doing at work that you like to do and you feel you're doing well. And there will be a pattern emerging from that.
Oh, that's interesting. So just sort of chart when you're
into something.
When you feel that that little bit of adrenaline surge.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I remember in college the chancellor, who was a math instructor, pulled me aside and said, I think you should major in math. And I'm going, really? He said, no, you're very good. And it's like, no, I hate math. It's like, I don't care if I'm good, and I'm not. I knew just enough for the test, and that was it. But it was like, oh, no. And if I had listened to him, I could get good grades in it, but it was like, I just can't even imagine what I would be doing with that. So, yeah, that's a good point. So I think it warrants reiterating. It's like, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. And I like that. I think that's kind of a courageous statement to make, because everybody's going, well, I can do this and I can do that. And it's like, yeah, but do you like it? So, something to consider for sure.
If you can.
Yes. So what are some of how has the employment world changed? It's like, I know that somebody that's sometimes, if you're with a big corporation, you can't even count that a person's going to be sitting there reading your resume. It will probably be read by a computer, and it will only be scanned for the first couple of lines. What are some of the changes that have come about? Because you've been in this business for a long time now. What are some of the improvements and not so improvements?
Well, you know, a resume is one piece now. I mean, we have social media where you can get your point across. So, it's not the old-fashioned resume. A resume is important. However, there are other ways to get your message across. And as you said, if you are applying for a big corporation, most likely it will not be read by a person.
Right, and I know that it's that for top half. You should make that, if you do nothing else, make the top half interesting and meeting the needs of the employer.
Yeah, I think that works for a small company, a large company.
Definitely. Yeah, you're right. Nobody's going to fish through all the pages. You're right.
Less is more,
yes.
Which is really hard to do.
It is, and it's one thing I like to do, and because you and I kind of do the same thing, I like to help people reinvent themselves and pull out skills that they didn't know they have.
Sure.
And I'm sure you do that too. And then apply it to the real world. Is it still wise for people to have more than one resume on hand and or tailor one to each job that you apply for? How does that work?
I think it's if you have a couple of directions, you'd like to be able to have separate resumes for those.
Okay.
But, a different resume for each job might be a bit tedious. But I think if
Not
you're...
with WordPerfect and all that. Not with all these computer programs. Yeah, you're right.
I think, if someone's considering A, B, or C, maybe you want to have 2 or 3 resumes.
And still keep it short because attention spans
Less
are not
is
getting
more.
longer.
I mean, it's so hard for people to give up space, but...
And read. So you want me to read all this? No. How about when I'm finding that with social media, and I know that I don't Twitter and tweet and all that. I don't get it and I don't do it. But I do, Facebook and LinkedIn and all of that. But I'm finding that people do not communicate face-to-face, like you and I are doing, as well as they used to. Where does your coaching and counseling come in on that?
Well, I love to do mock interviews, mock conversations. If you're going to be approaching someone with an issue, I think it's always helpful to do a mock.
Right.
So that face-to-face. My experience is people, as we were discussing earlier, sometimes people shy away from it because it's hard for them, the face-to-face. And if you never have face-to-face, it's going to be very difficult. So you do need to challenge yourself if it's not your preferred way of being and hide behind the computer.
Right.
So it's easier to hide. And then on the other hand, some people really miss that face-to-face, and maybe if you're at work and you're emailing someone in the next office, maybe you want to pick yourself up and talk with them. So I think people
Just
need
a
to...
little communication.
Yeah, can't hurt anyone.
Absolutely. I find that the people are way ahead of me technology-wise, and I know that, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But it's as far as communicating, it's not a lost skill, but it's a losing skill. So I think what you're doing is really important with the mock interviews. And do you do like body image and how you present yourself?
I even have, if someone wants to have a conversation with someone the next day that's important to them, I'll play the conversation with them. I'll be the other person. And the fact of stating something before you really have to is so helpful and so liberating.
Right. I usually I ask people, I want you to write down 5 questions that you do not want this person to ask you, and then I make them answer it. It's like, and get it out of the way.
Yes,
it's
and most likely they won't even ask.
Exactly. But just
and
in
ask
case,
you with a nice
the answer
person
going.
like you.
Absolutely, yeah. So what are some other tips that you can give people out there who are looking for jobs? I mean, what are some of the big mistakes that you see, or the big areas that need correction or refinement?
Well, as much as possible, you want to appear focused, clear. You want to be able to let people see the transferability of your skills. You want to be able to give examples of things that you've done rather than characteristics of yourself, because it's very easy for me to give you a list of 22 things that are wonderful about me, but if I don't have an example to back it up,
and just have your word, yeah.
So
think of some of your accomplishments and have them ready to pull out if you need them.
Right.
Yeah,
You need to have that.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the world of coaching, because I find that people sometimes think, I want to be a coach because I'm going to make a lot of money and I'm going to do it in my pajamas and I'm going to be on the phone all day. How realistic is that? And what is the name of your book, actually?
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote a book titled The Savvy Part-Time Professional,
Okay.
How to Land, Create, or Negotiate the Part-Time Job of Your Dreams.
Okay. So I think coaching, well, I'm not saying there aren't full-time coaches. I'm one, and so are you. But I think coaching sometimes can also go hand in hand. So how do you feel that coaching would enhances any other jobs that are going on?
Right, as I practice as a career counselor and coach. And also I have a little bit of a different model. Most of my clients I see in person.
Ah, okay.
That's just a personal preference. But for me it works great together. I mean, one with the other is ideal.
Right, and there's a lot of people in the coaching world that are say, used to be teachers, and I even find psychiatrists.
Yes.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Have gone into coaching, and I can see where, rather than telling people what to do, you're attempting to bring out the best in them. So I can see where that would enhance them. So when people ask me, should I become a coach, I always say, I can't imagine how it would hurt whatever you're doing. I can't see how that would mess up anything that you're doing. I think it has to be a big plus. What were some of the things that you included in your book about how to land and negotiate and to get the part-time job that would suit your needs?
Right. Well, the book focuses on 3 groups of people, which really includes everyone, because
well, that's handy. Yeah.
we call I called them lifestyle changers, people that had been working at a certain pace and realized they want to do something different and might want more of a flexible part-time situation. So that encompasses a lot of individuals. The book also looked at boomers, seniors, people that need and want to work today. If we are fortunate enough to live a long life and we need and want to work, perhaps a part-time situation can be ideal.
Right.
And perhaps young parents, there are these little children that cannot be left alone and someone needs to care for them, and sometimes it's everyone makes their own decision.
Right.
So that's more of a flexible or part-time situation.
I'm not hurting her, I'm just fixing her mic.
Thank you.
That's okay.
So, the book is really focused around those 3 groups of people where you could see many people are going to fall into one of those categories,
Right.
where you've made that decision that at this point in your life, a part-time or flexible work situation is really what you're looking for. And it's very similar to looking for a full-time job. If ideally you want to find something that's a good fit.
Right.
And you need to be able to negotiate and present yourself in the best way possible. So it's just in a different bit of an arrangement and letting, the individual know that you're looking to work part-time, and if it is a part-time situation that you're going to be able to get the point across that this is a good fit.
Well, you're not saying, or are you? I don't know. But I don't think you're saying, okay, let's go through the New York Times, if indeed people still do that anymore, and let's find all the part-time jobs. I think you're saying create the part-time job and then present it and go, you know what, I could give you 20 hours a week here, and here's what I can get done. Is that also a possibility?
That's part of it, sure. I mean, there are people that are looking for part-time workers, and you could do that in, the old-fashioned traditional way, not the New York Times, but perhaps on the web, on some
shows you how old I am.
on some sites, there are some part-time jobs listed. However, there aren't as many, so you might need to go and create that and to figure out who might need a part-time worker, how you can put together a proposal to propose a part-time work situation. And yes, part of it is creating it.
Also, I guess if you're working for a company full-time and you'd like to scale down, it's like, okay, here's what I can I'd like to work part-time, and here's what I'd like to do. You'll save money, and
Right.
here will be the benefits, and you will get this out of me, and we'll make this a part-time job, or I guess 2 part-time jobs if you. I mean, if
As
it's
a job share.
it's flexibility. I think it's now is the time, if not, to be very flexible. You know, it's more so than ever.
Yeah, no, if you can show someone that they're going to get a lot out of you in a shorter period of time, and it's been shown that, you know, people get more out of someone on a flexible part-time situation.
Really? Yeah.
Well, you know, you have a certain amount of hours to do what you need to do. You better get it done.
Yes.
There's not as much
Yeah.
wasted time. And typically one has the part-time situation because they need to get somewhere. So they're going to make sure they're as efficient as possible.
What about this new phenomenon? And I don't know if it's that new, but what about this, like, working from home? Does that need to be, is that something else that you help people negotiate if indeed they go, okay, maybe it is a new mother, and I still want to work, but I need to be at home? Do you
For
find
some
that-
people,
yeah.
I mean, people have been working from home for a long time now, and, you know, there's been some discord back and forth about that. But, you know, for some situations, it can, you know, make the best sense for everyone, and maybe not every day, maybe one day a week, or maybe,
again,
you
with
know,
the flexibility,
yes,
I'll work
yes,
3
and
days
to
and,
anticipate, you know, if there's going to be a snowstorm, to have it set up that you know you're not going to go into work the next day could be advantageous to both the employee and the employer.
It's almost, it's so obvious, I mean, that people don't really need to have a office base. It's like, because you have a computer, you have a phone, and you know, you can do a lot of the work there. But of course, there's the accountability, and I don't think things are moving that quickly that everybody's going to work from a terminal in their home. But it would certainly could defray cost in a lot of
Oh,
sense. Yeah.
absolutely. And also, I think each person needs to know themselves.
Right.
You know, for
Yeah.
one, it sounds wonderful to not have to get yourself all dressed and get to the office. And some people, you know, they just can't get going if there's not other
Yeah.
people there, or they can't put their clothes on and get themselves together. So, you know, I think the most important thing is to really understand yourself, because sometimes people think working at home is great until they do it.
Yes.
And they're very lonely and they're not as
Yeah.
productive. And for some people, it works out ideally.
I know a few coaches that, you know, went through when I did in 2004, and we all started out, we're going to work from home, and we're going to be on the phone, and isn't this fun? And a couple of them go, I can't. I need the interaction. I need to have a place to go every day. I need a regular paycheck. We all need that. But, you know, and they just really said, I can't do this. I just, you know, I thought I wanted to do it. It sounded so good.
Yeah.
And they just really went back into what we call the regular work world. And that was what they needed. So I don't know if there's a way to test that. What I tell clients is, if this is what you think you want to do, go volunteer or go find a way to do it, because sometimes reality, once again, is not quite, doesn't meet the expectations. So, but definitely a consideration. It's like, how do you work best? You know?
Absolutely, and I use the word try out.
I try.
So,
okay,
you know,
yeah.
try it
Yeah.
out and see
Right.
if you can get a day or two at home, see how it feels.
Don't quit your day job. But,
And
yeah.
if you want to go into another field and it's possible to volunteer, I mean, some fields are more suitable for volunteering. Certain fields you really can't
Right.
because of confidentiality, and they just
Yeah.
don't let you do that. But there are a lot of fields that you can. And if you can, and it's something you're interested in, you really do want to think about trying out a situation.
Right, and I know I have a friend who's very successful, but she started out doing some temp work, and she got to find the inner workings of a bunch of different companies until she went, you know what, I really like this, and you know, and then she said, oh, this is really what I want to do, and I think that's good. She was still getting a great paycheck, and you know, but she was having all kinds of different experiences. So there's all kinds of ways to skirt the issue,
right,
so to speak.
figure it out, and then once you feel clearer, and you'll come across with more confidence as well.
Right.
So it's a win-win for on so many ways, in so many ways.
Tell us what they will find if they go to your website, which is www, of course, lynnberger.com. What are they going to find there that might be of interest to them? I think you've got a few freebies or giveaways or...
Okay, well, one of the, there is on the homepage an essay about 3 steps to career success that goes into how to really think about that in a different way. It is a little lengthy, so it's not 1, 2, 3. And then there is a PDF if you're willing to and want the book. You can get it as a PDF.
Give us the savvy...
Part-time professional, how to land, create, or negotiate the part-time job of your dreams.
So that's accessible also at Amazon, I believe,
you can
and on your website.
Yes. And then there's an essay that I recently wrote is when it is appropriate to start planning one's education and career, and it's a bit more suited for a younger individual, high school or early college, to help them get more focused as they enter the world of work and to allow them to be able to feel a bit more directed. So that's on the homepage, as well as as you get into the website, other articles I was quoted in, and not so much that I was quoted in them, they were just good articles.
And you just happen to be there,
only
yes.
anything worthwhile. So I think there's lots of information to pick up about how to find a job, how to figure out what's good for you, current issues, articles about the world of work. So you could spend a little bit of time on that and
You can
learn a little bit
peruse
more.
your website.
I'm
Yes,
always
yes.
adding and
And she's been on like a million shows, so you can see her live and talking and etc. So for the education part, that's something you can give away for free.
yes.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a brief essay. You know, there are 3 steps to success, and when is it appropriate to start preparing one's education and career is interesting in the sense that it is for a little bit of a younger person, but applicable pretty much to everyone also, because it's about becoming focused, figuring
Right.
out a direction.
Well, when is it too late
Never.
to retrain? All
Never.
right.
Never.
It's never too late to learn something new.
It's
I
a
like that.
luxury.
Yes,
if you
yes.
can and want to retrain, there is, as long as the will is there and the ability is there, I don't think there is ever too late.
No, and I think that also not only is finding work while you're retired, and I'm not sure anybody retires anymore anyway.
I don't know too many people.
Yeah, I don't either. Not only finding work, but also educating and re-educating and keeping up to date is fantastic. Well, believe it or not, we have like 30 seconds left. So I want to again give you Lynn's website, which is lynnberger.com, and you're going to find all kinds of tips and articles about career transitions and employment tips and things like that. I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us. And tell people that they can keep in touch with you on the website and
Yes.
find out what's going on.
And thank you. This was a great experience to meet you and be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. The way I think we're off, but I don't know. Nobody came in. We're at 28. Okay, let's pretend we're off, but if we're not, we're going to be really embarrassed. All right. I'm going to go check. Just smile. I'm sure we're off.